So today we're making fried cabbage, the way that I make fried cabbage for my family. My stand broke, so I'm going to do my very best to show you how to do this. So fresh green onions, chopped up. And then I'm going to put them in here. When we put the heat on, we don't want to have it on high. We want to keep it on a very low temperature as to not burn the garlic while we're cooking. We just want to release these flavors first. Next, I have a rather large onion, and then I will finally chop that up, and that will go in here as well to saute. I have this little device that blends it up, and I can pulsate it, and I absolutely love this thing. I do so much with it, more than any other little kitchen device, and I want something finely chopped up. Alright, so we got the onions in, and I'm starting to mix them up. Next to add will be the teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of pepper. This is where we're going to add our bacon. If you have smoked bacon, that's best, but today I have regular bacon, so butcher's cut. I'm going to be chopping that up into small pieces and then putting it in here. So I only use about half of it. Go ahead and put that in there now. I don't know if I can do this one-handed or not. Just slide that in. And we'll slowly cook that up. Show you what it looks like when it's cooked down. Now the bacon I'm using doesn't have a lot of grease in it, but if you want, you can fry the bacon up separately and then put it in. You do need some moisture for the cabbage, so it's either that or butter. Next I have a boneless chuck roast, and yeah, so the net weight, about a little over a half a pound. I'm actually going to just use half of this. I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to use it in my processor to grind it up, and then I'm going to add it into this bacon and mixture and stuff. So I'm going to go and do that, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so we've got the ground chuck half of roast ground up, and we're now introducing that in there, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's all cooked up. I do like to introduce some of my seasoning around this time though, so this is just ground paprika. If you have smoked paprika, that's really good. And you want a tablespoon's worth of brown sugar. Go ahead and put that in. Now we'll go ahead and cook that up with you don't have to add this if you don't want spice, okay? But I like a little spice, so we're going to put some Cajun seasoning in there. Why? Because it tastes good. It's not just spice, it's flavor. And then we're going to cook that down. I'll get back with you and show you what that looks like. And this is definitely a process, but I promise you it's savory and everyone will love it, and it's totally worth it. I've set the oven at 425. I'm working it up there. What we're going to do next is we're going to take a couple of carrots, we're going to shave them, and then we're going to chop them, and then we're going to put them in the oven until they're soft and they're baked. And they just taste really good this way when you're going to introduce it into something like this. I know you're wondering, when are we getting into the cabbage? I promise you we're getting there. We are getting there. But, you know, these are the steps. You could do your basic fried cabbage with some butter and some salt and some pepper, but I like these extra steps. It's more heartier, and it tastes really good. I have a big old pan, so I'll be using that. And of course we'll be putting some olive oil on the bottom to make sure that they don't stick to it. Meanwhile, our meat over here will be continuing to cook and simmer. Again, don't have it on high, just keep it on a low and just keep it going, keep it rolling. Well, my carrots are about this size, and I will be shaving them off because they taste terrible when they have it, I think, with the skins on, and then we will chop them up. So what I'm doing right now is I'm spraying mine with olive oil, and then I'll be cracking some salt on the top of it. I use Himalayan salt. This is good salt. Now we're going to put it in the oven at 425. We're going to be taking 2 celery sticks and we're going to be chopping them up and then introduce it into our stew going over there. If you have a little bit of grease and you just think that it's a little bit much, you can always tip the pan up, take a spoon, and scoop some out. But you do want some of that in there. Not a lot, just a little. Alright, so I did end up taking about 2 spoonfuls worth out, big spoonfuls worth out, just because I don't like a lot of grease in mine. And I know this is typically a recipe where you add a lot of butter too, but with the meat and the bacon fried directly in, I don't think that it's really necessary. If anything, you're taking a little bit out. So I'm putting the celery in there. I'll let that cook up for a minute, and then finally we are going to get to the cabbage. Okay, make sure you wash your cabbage really well. I always take out the outer pieces that I don't like. They have some browning on them or something. And then I'll go to the chickens. But I have half of it, and then I'm going to go ahead and slice this up, and I'll show you what that looks like when it's done and in the pan. I always do mine in smaller pieces. I'll cut it in the slices this way, and then I'll cut it this way, you know, and throw it in. Don't worry about the space, it'll go ahead and sweat down. So there's the cabbage, it's in there, and it's piled in there pretty good, and we're going to go ahead and let that sweat down a little bit. Kind of work it in there. Get it rolling in. And that meat on top. And get the cabbage down below. And it will eventually sweat down. Don't let the size fool you. It's definitely not too much, you'll see. I mean, obviously, this is the dish's fried cabbage, so the main ingredient here is supposed to be, you know, cabbage. But all this other stuff, all this prepping beforehand just makes this dish, I think, a very savory dish. My daughter, my son, my husband, they like it. It's a bit time consuming getting all of this in here and all the sauces down, but it's worth it. It never lasts more than a day, and hardly any leftovers. Hardly any. They're usually pretty sad. If there is a little bit left, we're going for it. So it's definitely not a waste to do this dish, for sure. You'll be pleasantly surprised. Alright, I'm going to get back to you. I'm going to work this around a little bit and let this sweat down. Show you what that looks like. This is what it looks looking like right now. The next process. Okay, this is looking super yummy. Still have a little ways to go, but it's super yummy. The last thing that I'm going to introduce as far as seasoning is one of these packets. It's granulated chicken bouillon. Okay, mine is sodium free. I always watch my sodium. I like to have control of the salt that I put in. But I'm going to put one of these packets in. Just coup de grace, the whole thing, besides the Cajun seasoning. And the baked carrots that'll go on when those are done. And flip those in. Yeah, we didn't forget about the carrots. Carrots are almost done. They're still going through this whole process. Just a little bit further to go, and I'm a little bit more crispier, and then we're going to introduce them. Got a fried cabbage. Let's get that seasoning packet in. There we go. And mix that in. Yum, yum, yum. almost there, folks. Alright, these carrots are exactly how I like them, a little bit baked here, a little roasted, and we're going to introduce them into the ultimate fried cabbage dish. And I'm a firm believer that vegetables, it really depends upon how you cook them. You know, separating them, baking them separately, doing certain things instead of just throwing them all into one dish. It gives them a balanced flavor to everything when you don't rush it. Everything in life we like to rush, but you're going to truly enjoy what you're eating, you know, and have some yummy goodness with some fresh vegetables, fresh ingredients. Something better than a restaurant could ever make. Definitely fast food, I'll give you that for sure. Got that cooked down. Got that fried up. There you go. We're going to plate it, and I'll show you what that looks like. There you go. Still piping hot. This is the ultimate fried cabbage dish, and I hope you enjoyed this process, and I hope that you will give it a try. I know that you'll absolutely love it. It is totally worth it. It is. If you like these dishes and you want to try more, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. I'll see you then. Till next time.